Hello, everyone. Well, I believe everybody got a very exciting morning, afternoon, and the night. And I believe that you've learned a lot from the previous panel and previous speakers. Now, let's bring the creativity and the emerging technology into the Metaverse at the London Fashion Week. Today, we are happy to have Jan Laugesen and the Dream Team who make the digital immersive fashion show at not long ago London Fashion Week. Let's welcome Jens, Casey, Nico, Chang, and René. So hello. Let's begin with Jens. So I know that you would have some videos to show us.
I do.
Yeah, lovely.
So yeah, so I just wanted to thank you for the invitation to talk at this event, because it's always great to share our new experiences within the digital fashion space. I just wanted quickly to maybe introduce myself, because maybe that explains more the audience why we are here. So I'm a fashion designer with more than 20 years of experience in the international fashion luxury industry. I had my own brand in London Fashion Week, won many awards, had a physical brand, still in some of the best stores around the world, like those street markets, Selfridges, IT in Hong Kong, and have for the last 15 years been consulting for some of the biggest brands in the world, including Calvin Klein, LG in Korea, around the world. So I've really had a lot of clients around the world. And then when the pandemic hit, kind of felt creativity coming back. It was time to relaunch my brand. And I felt like digital fashion would really be a place for me to join my love for science with the digital. So what we are going to witness today is my second season venturing into the digital fashion sphere with an amazing collaboration that I have done with like the partners you will be introduced to. And I will be showing a little program of 4 to 5 minutes of what I kind of showcased in last London Fashion Week. So it's going to be a video. Okay, so we tried the tech, and of course it's playing with us. So I basically wanted to show the physical garments that are then rendered into clothes 3D that everybody's familiar with now. And in this process of the clothes 3D, of course, when pulling the garments away, it creates these kind of sculptural exhibition objects that are really beautiful to play with. Then this is like the exploration of the 3 galleries that were done in collaboration with Virtual Touch, with Casey, who is here, kind of showing the digital spaces that we created from zero. Then we curated the spaces with like the different avatars and virtual galleries and films, having moving sculptures. And then we are venturing into the idea of the AR sculpture done in collaboration with Visions from Berlin. This is the physical space that we were showcasing the presentation on Fashion Week. And here's the illustration of the screen grab video recording of the virtual exploration of the AR in the phone screen. It's really an interesting way for people to experience the physical fashion in a digital way on their phones and mobile devices. And you can play with the scale and study the details. Then we also invited to take some pictures from around the world in front of like famous buildings to kind of have this AI experience traveling the world. We'll be happy to invite some of the audiences in Taiwan to do the same, so we can have a collection of the different places that this AI installation is traveling. So this is the collaboration I did with René from Star Protocol, which is a platform for interoperability that he will talk a bit more about. But basically, it's the idea that you can have your digital assets in different metaverses, and it gives this way that you can play with them in. Yeah, so that's kind of what I wanted to share today.
That's awesome. So I know that behind the scene there are a dream team to work with you. So could you introduce each of them and let them introduce themselves?
So Casey, do you want to start?
Oh yes, sorry, must have. Yes, I've been working with Jens for the past 2 seasons on digital fashion. Met him through like a friend, and we started talking about digital fashion because for virtual touch we create different kind of substance. So what we do in virtual touch, we are like a digital eco-fashion ecosystem platform that we are a one-stop platform that allows designers, mills, and manufacturers and brands to upload their digital assets into our platform and to utilize our platform to configure and customize their products in a web-based environment. So people that we're currently working with are different companies around the world, and most of the suppliers and mills during the pandemic, they are not able to showcase their stuff to potential customers and designers. So we help them bridge that their products in real life into the system. So they allows them to use any kind of Chrome browser, all these application 3D to upload to our system. So they are able to design and put their stuff in digital motions, and it's like a whole ecosystem that we are creating in the real life business to the digital world. So that allows them to put their stuff into digital fabric, and from the fabric they're able to put them into motions and virtual spaces, and then eventually into the marketplace. And the last step is if they chooses to digitalize their stuff into a kind of like a digital ownership with NFT, they are able to have these options in our system. So if I quickly show you what we do on our platform is we have like a kind of like a web-based platform where we help different companies digitalize their products and stuff into high resolution scans. And this could be any kind of category products, could be knit, woven, sweaters and stuff, and we put them into 3D kind of environments for them to utilize these spaces, like what Jens was doing. What Jens was showing you was like a kind of interactive space, but we could do them into different kind of modules. And with our configurator that we embedded into the website, people are able to kind of on a web base interchange their fabrics and stuff directly on their browsers, on their websites, and eventually have their products made and visualized in a e-commerce platform. So they are able to change different kind of configurations directly onto our stuff. It could be motion fabrics. So this allows a different kind of companies like mills, manufacturers, and organizations to easily adopt without any kind of coding or expertise. And eventually they are able to kind of sign up to our platform, choose the kind of textures they want to upload. Everything is kind of semi-automations that we're currently doing, and it allows them to join different kind of subscription plans. So if I go into like a demo site, we have created we are working with over 50 different companies at the moment in Asia, and they present their kind of digital collections in a high resolution kind of format showrooms. And all these kind of different showrooms that we created for each specific manufacturer, they are able to showcase each of these digital assets in a 3D space and also in high quality resolution textures files. So they are able to play around with these 3D place orders, choose the request the samples or 3D files that they want to work with. And this allows them to share these kind of digital assets with brands and also overseas designers. And everything is kind of compressed into an area where they are able to store all their digital fabrics. And most of the fabrics we scan for the companies. If they don't have a digital team or they don't have any expertise in this, so we do it for them. But if they have a digital team that are using Clo or Browser, they are able to upload to the system themselves, because each of these digital assets, they are able to go into our system. They're able to drag their normal map, diffuse map into here directly from their scans, and they are able to produce their kind of digital fabrics. Once they have all these digital fabrics, we have a whole showcase of different silhouettes, motions, and all that stuff. We have over 1,000 of these created every day as we built the whole library. And all these kind of digital library, we are able to pick any kind of product. And once the products are loaded, then we are able to select the kind of fabrics they want to showcase in different kind of configurations. I'm sure there are different companies that are doing similar stuff in the market, but what we do differently is we are connecting the digital to the physical. So eventually these products will be able to make in a minimum order quantity, because we are working with the suppliers as directly as well on a higher kind of intimate level, where we are linking their supply chain to our system. So they are able to customize these, and once they are able to customize these, they're able to change different kind of backgrounds and stuff. Then they can save the products directly we give it a name. They save it into here, and they're able to create different kind of combinations of products. So once we have a whole database of these kind of fabrics from different kind of industry expertise, they are able to use our system to configure each of their garments on a web base instead of having to do it in Clo or Browser. So this gives them the full automations of having their own everything in e-commerce. Once they are able to save these, they put them into like a digital collection folder where all these styles are uploaded into like a 3D room with the products and all these 3D assets within the space. So they are able to share the whole collection with any kind of clientele and stuff. This is what we are building on at the moment. So if you guys have any questions in between, we are always on the lookout for different kind of collaborations and higher quality kind of expertise to work with. So okay. And so we have a whole different kind of selection stores. We've been building accessories, kind of environment rooms and stuff. And some of the products go into like a 3D accessories. It doesn't have to be only garments, because we're currently working with different kind of companies that are wanting to digitalize their physical products into 3D, so they are able to utilize these products to be able to comply with the designers overseas. So it could be accessories or an exhibition kind of style rooms, because we've been working with projects like Fashion Asia, where they have like a whole kind of 3D environment showroom that they want to showcase. And within this kind of showrooms, they want to map out like a whole area where we partner with companies like Walmart, Fashion Asia, and different fashion industry organizers. So they are able to see different rooms in different areas on a map. And what this exhibition showcase is a whole lot of different students are designing their work in a using different software, and we are building the kind of like a different kind of materials for them. Like it could be like a video that they want to showcase. Right, so inside these kind of exhibitions, we are doing this for actually a few companies that want to build out different exhibitions around the world, and we're using this kind of a model where we showcase each singular piece, and we help them rent out different booths to different companies to showcase their fabrics or designs. So this is pretty much what we are working on at the moment with real life companies. So, and that's it.
Thank you, Casey. That is wonderful. So, now for the next, I think that we'd like to invite Nico and Chang.
Thank you very much.
From
I would try
Aurar.
to just quickly introduce our project and then talk a little bit about how we are working and how we worked together with Jens and René. But before I do that, actually, let me just share my screen real quick. Before we go into what Visions is all about and how we are going to offer to bring what you've seen a second ago, for example, into the real world, and to just have like a takeaway version of that. Let's talk a little bit about the differences between the technologies, so that we are clear when it comes to how we use augmented reality, what augmented reality is in comparison to other technologies in the same area. I hope you can see everything. This should be a quick overview about what extended reality is referring to in the most parts. And it's quite important to us to talk about that for a second, since especially trends like the Metaverse have mixed up quite the usage of these words, and sometimes people are mixing up what they're referring to. Visions is an augmented reality project, and we are very much focused on augmented reality. Obviously, there are quite some similarities between mixed and virtual reality, but the main difference between augmented reality and virtual reality is that in AR, you place digital objects into the real room so that your eyes can still see your environment. You use 100% of the environment as it is. You just augment it, which is why the name. And you place virtual objects in the room that may or may not interact with the room, that can, for example, use something like occlusion, or they scan the room and the environment as it is, so you can have interaction between that. But the main point is that you are still in your reality. You are sociable, you can interact with everybody around you, and whoever has access to the same screen may see the same thing. Virtual reality, however, can create an entirely new reality. It may sometimes be very close to the reality that you're sitting in, but most of the times when we talk about virtual reality, you are using an HMD, like a head-mounted display, like a VR glasses, that create an entire new reality that you are moving in, and you are not really interacting with anything around you as it is. Sometimes the line gets a little bit blurred, and especially once the VR headsets start using the camera and then start replicating parts of the reality that you're actually living in, that would be called mixed reality. But the main difference is once you shut off the device, you can't see anything when you're wearing a VR headset compared to, let's say, an AR headset. There are differences in between AR itself. I don't think we need to go into too much details here, but when we talk about dynamic content, then we would mostly look into, let's say, a head-mounted display like an AR glasses from, let's say, Microsoft, the HoloLens, which can scan the room, which can have dynamic and just less static content, compared to smart glasses that are more comparable to data glasses and head-up displays, just showing information, overlaying the reality. This is quite important, because in the end, what we do is we bring virtual content into the real world and build a bridge between Web3 and the metaverse and the real world that we are living in, right? Since everybody has a phone and not everybody yet uses augmented reality headsets, we're doing this on the phone. So Visions is also an app that I will show you in a second, but to us, it's about real life brand engagement. We've been doing this for the past half a decade almost. And for the past year, we're actually working on the mobile app that is using augmented reality as a main source of brand engagement. We've been doing this with musicians from Germany. You can see a concert at the NFL Munich with the German artist Crow, which is quite a large artist at our place. However, we've been not only doing it in the music industry, but also, for example, in the art industry, in sports. We've been working a lot with Web3 because we are not only saying we want to build an augmented reality bridge, so to say, from digital content into the real world, but also we want to really leverage the technologies that are emerging right now, especially Web3, which would be something that is mostly perceived as a future of customer loyalty and brand interaction. We are combining it with geo-positioning, so we have some smart data that we can include to just leave the idea of having static content that is just given out to the user, but rather, and I think we've heard that before in the previous talks, having user-generated content that is really much independent and individualized to the situation that the user is in. For example, we use location data and time data, weather data, all this kind of stuff to actually transform even if it's Web3 content like NFTs, to transform the content in a way that it feels more immersive. By doing this, we can obviously say, okay, if you have like an NFT project, you can use augmented reality to make it more tangible, to make it more exciting, but also the other way around. If you're a brand looking into getting into this new era of the internet, then you might just want to have something that feels much more close to something that you know, but still innovative enough. And then this is where we come into play. We haven't worked in the fashion industry before, and we were really excited once we started. We will talk a lot about the project that we've done with Jens and also René from Style Protocol in a second. That was really exciting to us, especially since we are not native to the industry. But maybe just a quick overview. We started, as I said, with the app. We're not only offering in-app experiences when it comes to augmented reality. Yuri, in a second, who was my co-founder, will talk about when to use what and how we approached the whole project at the London Fashion Week. However, when you look at the technologies that we are definitely trying to combine all the times, we're really focusing on two ways to get there. Mostly, we say, okay, either you are a Web2 project looking into getting into Web3, or maybe you're already using it and you're looking into making it more interactive. Either way, or even if there's a completely different initial situation at hand, we are looking at what is your goal, and then we are walking down the tech capabilities that we are offering, since we are not too creative, but rather a tech company with a couple of developers who are really passionate about the technology that we're building. We love to explore what technology can do and how you can use it, instead of us giving you a concrete idea of what you have to build in the future. So we are pretty much using your ideas and trying to make them come to life. I think it is quite obvious from a marketing perspective of why these kind of technologies matter at the moment. Pokemon Go, a couple of years, launched the first mass adopted augmented reality case worldwide. And the interesting part is that even today, you can pretty much use all the data, because they're open sourcing it, when it comes to effectiveness and marketing, to see how you can use it for your own purposes. This is true for both augmented reality as a digital out-of-home innovation, as well as geo-marketing, which is something that hasn't been seen before. Obviously, we've done geofencing in the past, but this is like a new way of actually using it. Same goes for blockchain. I don't have to talk about this too much, I guess. So this is something that we try to make usable for our customers, which is, as I said in the beginning, we haven't done too many projects in fashion before. Obviously, However, we've been looking really much into how augmented reality is being used by the fashion industry. And when it comes to the current state of the art, it's really interesting to see that projects from both eras, the Web 2 era and the Web 3 era, are really looking into how you can use it, because technology is becoming more sophisticated. Like AI, we have heard it before, is pretty much helping and boosting the technology's capabilities at the moment. But even so, when we look into the projects that have been presented, and we can talk about how they differ in terms of usage of augmented reality, but here you can see some examples. So Artifact, which collabed with Nike a couple of years ago and started the collab there, they actually brought they actually offered a hoodie, like a physical fashion piece that you could scan with an app to augment it, and then you had these wings that you can see there. We have seen some filters to be overlaid on your shoes to actually try out some new sneakers, right? The placement of garments in the real world, that's something that we've done as well at the London Fashion Week now, that actually is something that could be going into this marketing digital out of home kind of space. But also augmenting, for example, catwalks, as you can see. These are some technologies that are working, that are live right now, and that also we are offering, obviously. However, something that excites us as augmented reality tech-savvy heads right now is the future, because you can see that there are a lot of trends actually trying to escape the realism, like the boundaries of realism when it comes to creating fashion, and try to get more creative to ignore, let's say, gravity, for example, and be just like very exciting when it comes to designing the fashion. At the moment, it is not as stable as we wish. Sometimes it really depends on the environment, but you can see that nevertheless a lot of trends are emerging where people are just in post-production trying to augment the way they look by, for example, let's say using Photoshop to actually put on some virtual clothing pieces. Here you can see some pictures on the right, and we are working pretty much on trying to make this live available. And if you imagine the future where you have more and more head-mounted displays available when it comes to augmented reality, because companies like Facebook and Apple, but also Microsoft, they're working on these quite a lot at the moment. And if you try to foresee a future where this is becoming more mass adopted, having these kind of technologies available and merging them, because they're very much compatible with what we, for example, build, and others obviously as well, and trying to also put some blockchain technology behind it, so you really have a pretty good resemblance of today's supply chains. You can actually counter trend, for example, fast fashion and ultra fast fashion, because it becomes more obsolete to try and push it to that limit, but rather having it more digitally. So you need to produce less, it becomes more available and obviously costs less. I think these are some trends that are really much interesting to us as like developers, when it comes to how we can actually help to make these parts more sustainable, and to pretty much accelerate that these kind of trends. So obviously, naturally, as I said, we were really excited to jump into the opportunity to work with Jens and Style Protocol at the London Fashion Week. And maybe Yuri, you want to share a couple of insights about these projects?
Yeah, so what we did on the London Fashion Week for Jens, we made like two different applications. One is web-based and one is the app itself. And so why did we do that? Because we found out just people have time for that if they are going to the London Fashion Week. In case of this one, other events like trade fairs, what we learned there is people don't have time. They want fast. They need it fast. They need it. They do not download the app. So we discussed with Jens and we found out, okay, people do have time and they are coming extra for seeing this. So we do have this opportunity to showcase much stronger, much more capable augmented reality experiences through the app that we created. But we need a kind of a hook to get people to download it. So that's why we also made a web app. This web app is actually accessed by a QR code, and you just scan the QR code and you scan it again, and then you will see a creation from Jens, which is then rotating around its own axis to give the user a sneak peek of what augmented reality can do. And once the user downloads the app, you will see that this is exactly what is shown here in the videos on the left and on the right. It's exactly 9 garments from Jens that are rotating, and you can play with it. You can increase the size. You can move it. You can let it rotate. There's also a nice glitch effect made by Star Protocol, which is really crazy how good it looks. And I think this just showcases also the difference, because in the web app there's no occlusion. What you can see on the left, occlusion meaning that it will the digital object will interact with the real world, basically meaning it also the application knows when something is in front of the object, and it will make it hide behind it, make the digital object hide behind it. So and that's the beauty of AR, basically, that you can really have things inside the real world which are actually digital. Yeah, so I think this is quite a nice case that we could do. We did with Jens, and we are really happy to be part of it.
This is awesome. Thanks, Nico and Chang. And next that we'd like to invite René.
Yes.
From Star Protocol.
Hello, hello, hello. Great to see you again, dear partners. And I don't know if you're there, but hello to Taipei. Really nice to be here. I just wanted to say that I think Jens and we randomly saw each other on a digital roundtable, and then we thought, let's make something together. And then I invited Visions, so Nico and Yuri, and then Jens also, of course, for a meeting before Christmas. So this all happened quite fast and quite wild. But what we did, I think, was quite nice, and I think the people also had fun in London and all around the world. Yeah, it's nice to bring people together, and this is basically what we do at Star Protocol. It doesn't matter if you're a fashion designer or NFT holder, or you don't know anything about it, but you have assets, you want to see them in any game or a metaverse or a virtual platform. We can all do this for you. Let's see if I can also set up my screen share here so I can show you some cool stuff, what we did in the past. I think this is the right one. Yeah. Can you see what I see? I don't see you now, but I think you.
Yeah.
I think you
Yeah,
see what
works.
I see. Cool. Yeah. This is what we did for one fashion designer in Berlin shows. And Marcel von Berlin is yeah, like the designer. And they set up a really cool space in Berlin, had a cool location, and in there you actually then see the virtual space that we did in Monaverse. That's the metaverse here. Yeah, people could experience it. They could play around in it and stuff like that, which is quite nice. And here you can see the space is still live, so it's quite nice. People can still join it and see the garments and the pieces here in like a virtual world here. I just also want to see like oh yeah, this works too. No, I don't think you see that, but that's fine. That's fine. And then I want to also show you, because I think I heard something about the Metaverse Fashion Week in Decentraland. This is happening right now until Friday, so it's quite exciting times too. I collected my free Adidas jacket, so get it too. And where we are right now is actually our space. Star Exchange is basically the subsidiary of Star Protocol that focuses more on fashion events and stuff like that. But it's basically a whole family. And yeah, here we are at the street of Decentraland, a metaverse also. And we set up this space here with also nice dancing avatar here that is actually available on our marketplace. And this is what we also do is we make in-game assets ready for the metaverses and other games, so that you can play with it, and then you can see it on the marketplace going live. And you as the owner, you can say how much you want to sell. If you want to keep it also for yourselves, also fine to stay exclusive. We also get that. So we want to respect the owner's wishes, and yeah, just want to deliver great content and yeah, like usability of assets, which I think is a big thing. You have these many different metaverses out there, like games, this and that. But how can you use your assets then? How is this actually possible that you go from one world into another without losing what you have built up in this one world, or that you have maybe even saved up for this one world, right? And now you want to bring it into another world. This is what we do. We are the infrastructure, the ground layer for a digital asset exchange. So it's a two-way street, right? And yeah, so this is what we linked it up for, and anyone can come to us and say, hey, I want also this great asset on your marketplace. Let's do it. Let's collab. We are very much open. I think, yeah, Casey is also here in the speakers panel, and I already gave you a shout out on LinkedIn because I think we can do some cool stuff together. And this is the top floor of our space here, where we showcase like the latest drop of our fashion designers collaborations, where you can also interact and basically go to the shop then. And a really cool thing just at last I wanted to share. The recent collaboration that we did, there was a very cool woman actually in our tailor ecosystem. Tailors are basically 3D artists who make that even possible to have your asset in the different worlds. Yeah, she told me, yeah, I have this great project. I want to create a dress actually 3D printed with 300 names of women working in Web3. So that can be fashion designer, that can even be like a coder, an engineer, a copywriter for a white paper. Really, if you are active in Web3, she wanted to collect the names there. And yeah, and then she launched it. And then I said, oh, we need to do this. we need to get you also on our store. And yeah, you can check it out here, and you can also interact with it, and then you see you can go to her website, and I think it's really nice what they do, and especially for women in Web3, it's a bit hard, it's a bit complex because it's still very techy, and she's kind of pushing that quite far, which I really like. And yeah, you can check out her space also in Decentraland this fashion week until Friday. Really beautiful space. You need to check it out. And yeah, this is basically what we do. So if anyone is yeah, ready for collaboration, or if you have someone in mind that needs something like this, we're always up for anything basically. And a very much thank you to Jens to like, you know, to get this going, and he's really pushing the word out there, which is great. And thank you also for setting this up for Taipei. Really nice to have like a digital kind of experience, which is really cool. It's great, and I think we need to push this more and to find the bridges between the physical and the digital world. So thank you very much.
Thank you, René. It's
Of
awesome.
course.
And yeah, it's really fantastic to go through your presentation. And first question from me, personally, I'm very curious. This question is to Jens. And I would like to know, how because these people are from the different kind of task and from the different kind of technology. And I believe there should be something at the beginning. It couldn't be that like one day when you wake up and say, hey, it's a good idea. Let's bring these people together and we create something together. I think that should be something that you really want to do. And yes, and of course, I think most of our audience would like to know which is the most interesting element that you think to bring the physical fashion week to the digital. Yeah. You are mute.
On mute, okay. Yeah, so what I'm really interested in to combining the digital with the physical, you know, it has this kind of word called phygital, you know, that's kind of the word. It was a bit of thing used for retail before, but I kind of wanted to use it for fashion events because I think you have to have both physical garments and digital garments, you know. And once I had the idea that I wanted to look into the digital fashion, you know, I've seen digital fashion since the 80s, in 1980s, you know, where it was like you could put print onto an A-line skirt and that was it. So it hadn't really evolved a lot. But before the pandemic, I saw how clothes had developed. So you could actually do a tailored jacket with the shoulder pads and the interlinings. And it was really like construction. And because I'm trained in couture, I thought this is really interesting because the digital now is quite performative what you can do in tailoring. And I like when René uses the word tailoring because I think this is really what digital artists should be, tailoring digital garments, like physical tailors. So I just started to do research, you know, and I spent like a day looking for digital artists on Instagram and Facebook, and I reached out to the ones that I liked. And obviously because I'm offering a collaboration for London Fashion Week, people are interested in collaborating. But I think once you have a project, just reach out to people and ask them if they want to collaborate and show what you do and what they do, and then you can find some work together. And with Casey, I already had been introduced to him from friends on another project we worked on. So I reached out to him and to see if we could collaborate somehow. And he was interested in collaborating on the digital showrooms, which is what you can see behind me, which is the Metaverse we did for London Fashion Week a year ago. And this is how everything started. And once you have the first project you can show to people, then I reached out when I met René on one of these Metaverse fashion forums. You know, that's also where we met Claire and Chang, you know, by communicating what we do. So by communicating, people get interested and then you can reach out. And I find that the Metaverse world is much more open to talking to people, you know, CEOs respond back to you when you send them LinkedIn emails, you know, and they're interested in talking. They can spend 50 minutes with you. This is not something you find in the traditional fashion world. So I think this openness, because everybody's building this new world, we don't know what the Metaverse will be, but we are trying to explore what it could be. And it's somewhere in between everything that everybody's doing, you know, but it's by this exploration that we can really create something new by thinking outside of the box, by joining up forces from people who are from traditional to the physical to the digital and finding new pathways. This is this kind of hybrid design thinking. I think that is really important for how this world will evolve.
Thank you. Yes, I would like to echo what you just said and also Nico mentioned earlier. The technology is over there and how we use this to make something we really want to see. I think through the technology, there are so many opportunity over there.
Yeah.
But I would think the fashion is the most interesting part because that you, I think all of you just mentioned that it's all about interactive. I think before the pandemic, the physical fashion show is more like, oh, you just sit over there and you just see the people on the catwalk and then just stay over there. But through the technology, there is more interactive part, and you can see, you can communicate with each other, and you can show immediately by many other current technology. So the next question to you, I think to bring the creative with revenue, I believe there is always something with the commercial part, but something that we'd like to experiment. I would like to ask Jens, if we want to do something like how, for those people, especially for students, how could they start it experimenting?
Well, the good thing about software, you know, Clo, you can just do trials of a month for free, you know, and then if you're a student, you can have like discounted fees. So it doesn't take a lot to learn, and there's so much online learning out there that if you, I mean, I have worked with digital artists. I thought they were professionals. Yes, they were professionals since 1.5 years during the pandemic. They spent their time on YouTube learning how to do Clo 3D. They didn't have any tutors in universities during the pandemic who could teach them anything. So they had some physical pattern cutting on Zoom, which is not very good. They looked at books and video tutorials and they learned by themselves, you know. So a lot of these learnings are out there for free. Anybody can join and look at YouTube video channels, you know. Clo put out all these courses for free for everybody to learn. So I think to learn is not that difficult. You just need some good broadband, you know, Wi-Fi, and then you need a laptop, ideally PC, because Mac is not the best for that. And then you can get started, you know. And also recently I've been collaborating with some digital artists from Nigeria who are really trying to make this is the new way for the fashion industry in Africa, you know, because they don't have the resources that we have in Europe. But that could be like a new world, you know, for them, you know, where they can actually learn skills that can be used in the international industry without having to maybe create everything themselves from zero, but they can collaborate with the industry. So I think this technology, everybody can have a laptop, everybody can work on a phone, you know, with decent broadband, you can actually do something and be part of the ecosystem of fashion, of digital fashion. So I think that's a game changer.
Yeah, I think that is very interesting part, because that we know for now many digital native generation, they are grown up already, and I think for them digital fashion would be a quicker approach for them to get themselves into the fashion world. So well, as mentioned earlier, that for the commercial part in the virtual world, there are so many approach like non-fungible token, etc., blockchain, and well, as the previous panel mentioned, it's also hot in the market. But how we secure our IP or our commercial revenues, for example. So could you share when the designers start to digitalize their work and make revenue, what should they be aware of? I think that would go to René.
Yes, that is of course very important, because you don't want copycats, right? And I experienced a lot of fashion designers who actually wanted to get their pieces out there, and then unfortunately I think actually a big brand, like I think Adidas, they just took her design, like 90% of it, and then only 10% was like new. So it's very important to first make a trial shot, like an experiment almost, to see what's actually happening in the market, because it's very fast accelerating. Many designers are not aware how much it's actually growing, and in which areas you can jump into. So I think it's very important to first, because designs are your babies, right? And you want to protect them. And first I would give it like a trial shot. Okay, how would I do this? But with a design that, you know, is just like maybe even a concept almost, right? So it's not that much it's not that attached to you, let's say, because it really should be a test where then objectively you can see, okay, what worked, what didn't work, right? This is very important to see for yourself, because you're very much attached to your pieces and designs, and you want to have it as a success. But to jump back and see it objectively and see how it's actually developing, how was the test going? Like, it's really like it's not a trial and error, but it is a very delicate situation. And with NFTs, it's you as the owner have the IP right? So you need to be very clear when other people buy your NFT. Do you want to declare then your IP rights to them, or should that still be with you because you're the original creator? That's very important, because many NFT collections actually then now say, we still own the IP rights. You can't sell and make commercials out of that, or you can't advertise it as it's your NFT. So this is what's coming up right now, and I would strongly advise to actually make a try and just give it a test and see how it comes. Every community also handles it differently, and then you also get more aware. Okay, what does my community want even, and then you can go ahead with your real launch, let's say.
And I know that Casey, you are also doing a lot of digitalized part. And do you want to share something about your experience for this question? You are on mute.
Yeah, I think what we do over here in Asia is because most of the brands are going all digital, especially with the higher, larger brands. So what they are needing is we need to provide them with most of the our kind of companies that we work with. They want to provide a source of the digital stuff for the brands to use, because most of the stuff that they're currently doing on the pipeline from fabric to sampling, everything is going to go digital. So the substance are already there. The raw material needs to be digital. The fabric needs to be raw material. So if we have all these kind of database available for them to use anytime, anywhere, then they could abstract these kind of database for all designers around the world to utilize these kind of raw materials to put into their digital designs anytime, using Chrome browser or any kind of virtual touch platform or any kind of application they have on hand to quickly put everything together and visualize in like a showroom, or even have it on their e-commerce to sell immediately. Because some of the companies that we are working with at the moment, they want to sell minimum quantity orders, like one single piece, which they don't want to make a whole collection like a fast fashion. So what they are having in store with talking with us is, are we able to build that digital ecosystem pipeline with them, that we are able to utilize the digital side of the business to do more businesses online. Without because I think what we are seeing in the crypto world at the moment is either two sides. It's either doing the digital for the sampling, or doing digital for the crypto side. But I think there's a fine line where we could enter the space where we combine both of the areas together. So you have the ability to create a digital assets, and this asset could go either the digital way, which is the physical sample, or the digital way. So it gives them that two capabilities. So the ownership could have both of the digital assets and the physical assets. So what we are positioned where here in Asia is we could combine the two together and allow the brands to work with the supply source on that side. So this is where we are trying to tap into this kind of a very niche space. So.
Thank you for the answer, Casey. And I also would like to ask Chang the same question. Do you have any advice for those younger designers, or who want to get into the digital world?
Yeah, so first of all, I think René and Casey already answered a lot of these questions. I actually don't have much to add into this. To be honest, I think NFT is quite exciting new thing, and I think what people should also remember that you can use NFT as basically as a whitelisting, so that if a young designers maybe put out some things out there, they can see, okay, there are some fans, and if they hold it long enough, they can see, okay, maybe we can also utilize this and have some membership basically base around it, you know. And I think this is quite nice to have, because otherwise I do believe sometimes NFTs are like, okay, why do I even have to own this now online even? Just to be proud of it, or what? I mean, this is a case obviously, but I think if we add another layer to it and say, okay, people who owns the first collection or something like that, they are invited to a special meetup with the designer or something like that, or they can see special videos on the how to make it, how did it happen, and or ask question or give more insight. So I think this is where we should go, so that we can have also like, okay, this gives another layer of NFTs. Why do we want to own it? You know, and I think this is the beauty of it actually, and not just owning it. I mean, owning it is already a lot, but adding this layer would be fantastic.
If I can
Thank you.
share something.
Yeah,
I
sure.
do think technology, in the beginning, people were afraid of technology. It's going to alienate us. It's going to bring us apart. You know, technology is very dangerous. The machine, the robots, they're going to take over, you know. But I actually think with the metaverse, there's also a very like utopian philosophy, like the decentralized organization. Autonomy is very much people are in it together against the corporations. So I think also with technology, you know, through your phone, you can actually connect to a brand that is on the other side of the world in a very intimate manner, you know, because it's in your hand and it's in your eyes. So there's ways of communicating. I think what Laurie just said about the communications and the connections and the community building, you know, this is really a new way of consuming, of interacting for brands with consumers around the world. And you can, of course, see how luxury brands are venturing into collaborating with like gaming platforms to kind of get into an existing audience and testing how their brand could work with that audience, you know. And I think there's a new way of doing things. What everybody, what you probably will forget is that it's a lot of extra work, because if you do a physical collection and a digital collection, it's double work. And then if you want to do like digital iterations like NFTs and community building, it's another work. So it's actually a lot of extra work to do all these things properly. You know, if you want to do both physical and digital, it's almost triple work. So it is a lot of time consuming and it needs a lot of manpower. So yeah, so collaboration is key, you know. So when you want to start as a young designer, find some tech guys, collaborate, do this together and build something together, you know. I think that's the key.
Yeah, I would like to anchor that part, because that through the discussion for this, that I found there are a few keywords. One is the interactive and the communication, and the loyalty. How to make your audience to stick with you, and that is the technology can help with. And nowadays, I think that we all already talk about how we immersive and how we apply the technology into our current work. It doesn't mean that we want to give up what we've done before, but we are adding something more values to this. So before we end up this panel, I would like to ask you to share, invite you to share your point of view about the trend for the digital fashion. Yeah, let's go with Jens.
Okay, so I obviously believe in this kind of physical and digital integration, you know, and I would love to in the future to collaborate more with digital artists and tailors like René talked about, to build like a future digital couture house, but in a proper way, because I think there's a lot to learn from the artists and the tradition of the artists and the couture that I know, and that digital artists, what they can do. There was, for instance, one of the artists I collaborated with, her name was Andrea, and also from Berlin. And she's more like a traditional old school pattern cutter designer, and she knows a lot about tailoring and pattern cutting. So her way of doing clothes 3D was much more precise than some of the young kids who are used to doing clothing from the gaming world, where it's more about you can pull the garments and then it looks fine because you just stiffen the fabric and it looks fine. But I think the true adventure of digital fashion is when you can integrate the know-how of the expertise of the tailoring with the digital garments, then you have something that's much more realistic and much more interesting.
Yeah, I think this project with Jens helping us to connect with different parties in the industry. It really helps us to focus on not just on what we are doing, because I think what we've been doing for the past couple of years is we've been so enticed with what we are working on. It really takes away from us what actually we could achieve with collaborations and different parties, because I think in the physical world, everything is kind of static at the moment because we have a kind of way how we work in the physical world in digital fashion, but in the digital fashion, I think everything's not laid out yet. So it's like an even playing field, and everyone has their own way of doing things. So it's really up to the forefront of the different kind of companies setting the rules for us to kind of tie everything together. Even the big companies doesn't mean they have the edge over the digital fashion way, because their way of doing it is exactly taking what the physical part of the industry. So we kind of understand what the physical flow is, then we try to adapt these with the young creatives in the different part of the world that are doing fashion, and like what Jens are doing, and they have their ways of working and their aesthetics and stuff. So we kind of tie in these aesthetics and flow together, and to achieve something more meaningful. Not just visualize, because what we've seen in the last couple of years, everyone's doing kind of visualizations, and everything's kind of, oh, you look at it, it's beautiful, but there's not a purpose that leads to another angle where they will come back to that space or that exact product. So we have to create a purpose for it, for them to come back, and not just a one-time entry. So this is the hardest point, and even we are trying to work out what is the USP of our company that takes people to keep coming back to use us, to work with us. And yeah,
thank you. And yeah, Chang, do you want to share something about that?
Well, I think digital fashion in the future would be really crazy what we can all do about that. And like Casey already said, I think it opens up a new world where like the digital world does not has its limits like our world with physics, right? And stuff like that, what we can all do about it. I think this is really crazy. And what also my my co-founder already said, if we think about in a future where most people have those augmented reality glasses already on all the time, or even as a as a lens, I mean, that would be crazy. And if you can already see things in the digital world, this is like we are moving into a future where we really can get past the limitation of reality, basically. And I think this is really crazy, and I'm really excited about it. What the future will bring.
Thank you. And René?
Yeah, it's beautifully said, everyone. It's very exciting times, and I think to see so I was wandering around in the Metaverse Fashion Week in the Central Land yesterday, and it's very nice to see like an Adidas implementation, like a shop, right? And next to it, there's an up and coming fashion designer. So there's no boundaries. Like, okay, you have 10 billion in revenue. Great, you Adidas, amazing. But then next to it, there's a guy who you don't even know, and then they like interact with you, and they say, hey, what are you doing here? Like, it's a very cool space to explore, and like really, there's no limits to it, and you don't need to be embarrassed, right? That I think it's a good thing that that we see big brands also like wanting to jump onto the train, and they also fail, right? Yeah, it's true. Like like many NFT collections failed, even from big brands. So there's this thing that that you feel like, you know, you're getting there. Everyone is testing it out. Metaverse means a big thing. Exactly. And yeah, so it's a great time actually. And for digital fashion, I think it's beautiful. And it will drive the Web3 scene into more of a mass adoption, because it links the physical with the digital.
Thank you. And you know what? That I've heard many words in the whole panel discussion, and I would like to address that as an ending. That's the crazy. It's a crazy.
That's a crazy new word.
Crazy. Yeah. Very crazy and exciting. Yeah.
Yes.
And the most important is that the new way to communicate with not only your audience, but all with all possibility and all potential collaborators, because as Yan mentioned, well, it's nothing to be shy. You just ask, especially I think in the past the most challenging part between the fashion and technology is that they don't really know each other, and that they thought there is a huge gap between these two worlds. But actually after, especially after, for myself, my feeling is that after pandemic, this gap looks like disappear, because people getting used to be talking online and doing things remotely. So that really opened another door for everybody to get the chance and the opportunities.
During the pandemic, you know, people did meetings on Zoom. You know, I have had meetings during the pandemic with one of the marketing directors of LVMH, and he was sitting in his home in the living room, you know. So suddenly these boundaries between the official and the unofficial disappeared. And so this new generation of young people have a new approach to what is tradition. And that's why the dinosaurs in the room, the old luxury houses, they have a hard time because they don't really believe it's important. They know it's important, but they don't really believe in it, you know. I've been at meetings at LVMH, Louis Vuitton in the group, but the digital design studio was in the HR building away from the design studio because they don't take it seriously. It's something they have to do. They do it as an afterthought of the collection. I think the future is really once the digital is integrated in the design studios alongside the physical designers, the pattern cutters, the digital designers, and everybody's there collaborating, elaborating. I can see how digital fashion like clothes can be used in a very, very creative, like digital toile version of, you can see, I have these toiles, change the colors, you know, and so you can really use it in a very fast forward project, you know. And when I did the project last Fashion Week, during 2 days, we did like 250 toiles with my assistant, because suddenly I realized once I have a toile in clothes, I can just change the colors and do many iterations, and then I put a jacket on top of jacket. And it becomes really crazy because it becomes unrealistic garments, but actually it was extremely creative in a way, and much faster than if I had to do the collage or the drawing or the sketching. So I can definitely see how the technology can be a creative tool. And look at how AI now is like, everybody's using AI, even people who are not designers or anything. They can just give some words to a machine that comes back with creative solutions. So technology can be creative. We can teach the technology to be creative. It's up to us to make what we want with technology. If we are mean people, we make bombs. If we are good people, we make positive things. So if we bring positivity to technology and to machines, we make love, not war, right?
Yeah, and also develop a new way of trust.
That's for sure.
Yeah, I think that is through all this panel that I appreciate all of you to share your expertise, your experience. And I think that's the part for this panel. Thank you, Yan. Thank you, Casey. Thank you, Chang, and thank you, René. It's really great to have this opportunity to talk with you, and looking forward to the next collaboration. Thank you,
I just
everyone.
want to say thank you so much, Claire and Chang, for bringing everybody together. You know, you can see we are like Taiwan, Hong Kong, Germany, and London, Denmark. It's an international world, you know. Suddenly the boundaries, we can collaborate being in different places, you know, and I think this is what we should do. So let's collaborate and continue.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And let's continue the conversation as soon as possible. Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night,
Bye.
Taipei.
Bye-bye.